The day I asked for a divorce, I called Eleanor, but her secretary answered. A young guy with a clear voice said, "Eleanor's in a meeting and can't talk right now. Is there anything you want me to pass on to her?" He was Eleanor's new fling. This time, I didn't make a scene. I just calmly said to him, "Tell her the divorce papers are on the bedside table." On my way to the airport, I called Eleanor again. Another male voice picked up. "Arthur, Eleanor wanted me to tell you she's in a meeting. If there's something urgent, you can let me know, and I'll pass it on." I hesitated with my phone in hand. This was Eleanor's new guy. He didn't even have a fancy degree. In a place like Anhua, packed with elites, he wouldn't last. But Eleanor noticed his resume and made him her secretary. Over the past year, Eleanor and I argued about him countless times. I even stormed into the office demanding HR fire him, but Eleanor protected him fiercely. A whole year he's been her secretary, flying everywhere Eleanor goes. Until now, I've grown tired. This never-ending tug-of-war. I'm just now realizing it's pointless. I ignored the poorly concealed taunt in his voice. I simply felt worn out and said calmly, "Please let her know the divorce papers are on the bedside table. She just needs to sign them when she gets back." "What?" I hung up before he could finish. When we used to fight, I always thought if we actually got divorced, I'd make a huge scene and trash the place. If I was miserable, I wouldn't let her be happy either. But now, the moment's here, and I feel oddly calm. I didn't take anything with me. Everything in the house we shared made me sick. The only thing I left with was myself. Just before my flight, Eleanor texted me. "I saw the divorce papers. What's your problem this time?" Even through the screen, I could imagine her annoyed expression. I didn't reply, just switched my phone to airplane mode. Honestly, we both know why. Since Julian became her secretary, Eleanor's been home later and later. No men's hair on her clothes, no cologne scent, just increasingly long stares at her phone, sometimes even smiling like a teenage girl in love. I brought it up a few times, but Eleanor calmly said, "There's nothing going on, you're overthinking." We fought countless times about Julian. I told her to reassign him, but Eleanor said I was being unreasonable. I cried, fought, begged, even went hysterical. I sat in chaos, threatening her with shattered porcelain pieces, but she just coldly said, "Arthur, do you realize how pathetic you look right now?" I couldn't help but chuckle bitterly. Yeah, pretty pathetic. I was like a man possessed, loving her too much, or maybe I just invested too much in her. Just the thought of losing her was agonizing. Bottom line, I was just unwilling to let go. I'd been with her for 10 years, from a broke student to a person everyone called boss. How could someone she's known for only a year steal her from me? I tried fixing myself up, learning new recipes, becoming more considerate. I thought competing with a stranger like this would bring Eleanor back. But last night, when I went to pick up a drunk Eleanor, I saw her with a young guy on the curb. In a perfectly tailored dark suit, with long legs naturally crossed. His sharp jawline softened by streetlights. That face, overly pretty when she was young, now matured with time, like aging wine. It hit me. We once sat like this at the roadside too. I brought her a dish I'd cooked, and she paused after tasting it. I got nervous, thinking it didn't taste good. "What's wrong?" I asked. Eleanor looked up and smiled. "I was just thinking, how lucky am I to have such a great husband?" I blushed on the wintry street. She wrapped us in her coat, white breath visible as she spoke. "When I get rich, I'll make sure you have your own big restaurant, showcasing that sign from your family. Everyone will know how amazing my husband is and how great his cooking tastes." I glanced up. She looked down, her beautiful, dark eyes reflecting the city lights behind me and my smiling face. That was so long ago, long enough that if it weren't for this moment, I might have forgotten. Back then, her eyes were all on me, and like she promised, she got rich. But the person by her side isn't me anymore. "So how does it taste?" Julian asked, swinging his feet. "I made these grilled rice balls myself. Took me a while." Eleanor held the simple rice ball with a gentle smile. "It's delicious." Meanwhile, the soup I simmered for hours felt like a joke. Eleanor glanced up and saw me, froze a moment, and her brow furrowed. "What are you doing here?" Julian checked me out, smiled cheekily, and waved. "Arthur, right? I didn't know you were so good looking. Eleanor never mentioned you at work. She had too much with some developers today. Oh, is this the midnight snack you brought?" He took the container from me and opened it. The aroma of fish soup wafted up, a hint of pepper spice. He took a deep breath. Smells amazing, Arthur. You've got skills. Then he glanced at me, smirking. Too bad, Eleanor, just ate. I brought these rice balls from home. He called her Eleanor. A young guy in his 20s, naive enough to challenge without fear, or maybe Eleanor's favoritism gave him the confidence. I turned to Eleanor. So now, even the best home-cooked meal isn't good enough, huh? Eleanor's expression turned cold. Julian didn't seem upset. He smiled a bit and said honestly, it's not about what you eat. It's about who you're with. When you're with someone you like, even a simple meal tastes amazing. But with someone you can't stand, even a feast feels bland. Don't you think so, Arthur? I glanced at Julian and sneered. Yeah, when it comes to a couple like you two, even eating shit probably smells good. Julian's face darkened, and he fell silent. Eleanor stood up, her expression grim. Arthur, that's too much. Not wanting to cause a scene in public, I cast my eyes down. Let's just go home. Eleanor finished her grilled rice ball, called a driver, and told him, make sure he gets home safe, not caring that I was right there. Julian pouted as he got into the car, giving Eleanor a look that seemed almost like a plea. I watched him go, just a boy with a spark of youth. Even if he acted spoiled, his eyes were clear, just like mine used to be, even resembled me a bit. I wasn't naive enough to think Eleanor was searching for a younger version of me. She liked this type all along. Whether at 20 or 30, she was into guys in their early 20s. That night, I didn't argue with Eleanor. I grabbed my bedding and went to the guest room. She didn't stop me. Before leaving, I asked one last thing. Eleanor, what do you really want? I'd loved her for 10 years. No matter how it ended, I wanted to understand why. With a cigarette between her fingers, she suddenly said, Arthur, I'm tired. The orange flame flickered as she puffed out smoke and turned to me. I'm tired of you being around all day, just asking me what I want to eat. I'm married to a husband, not a cook. Is that all you do? I stared at her, the smoke swirling around us. The girl who once held me, saying her dream was to eat her husband's cooking forever, seemed to vanish into that mist. Suddenly, it hit me. The girl I loved had long been worn away by time. She wasn't the woman in front of me now. I didn't say anything more, just turned and left. The next day, Eleanor went to work like nothing happened. She didn't explain, probably thinking I'd swallow my pride like before, pretend nothing happened. But after throwing away the stale fish soup no one drank, I went out and filed for divorce. A marriage is like a dish. If you can't swallow it, don't force it. On the plane, looking out at the buildings shrinking into the clouds, I remembered coming to the city for Eleanor. She wanted to start a business here, so I left my culinary dreams behind to follow her. When I left, the restaurant owner was distraught, saying, You're the most promising chef we've had in years. Stick with it and you'll go places. Why quit? My family had passed down our culinary skills for generations, even earning royal accolades. I wanted to continue that legacy, but all I could think about was Eleanor. My parents died in an accident when I was only halfway through learning our family recipes, raised by my grandma after them. When she passed away, I had no close family left. Perhaps because I had so few people in my life, I cherished Eleanor so much, always compromising just to keep her. She often skipped meals for meetings, and I would cook for her 3 times a day at home, giving up my dreams to accommodate her schedule, becoming a stay-at-home spouse. But I did it willingly because I liked her. I naively thought love was enough. Thinking about it now, that was foolish. Some things you just can't hold on to, like the song says. If you can't hold the sand, let it go. Returning after years, my hometown had changed. Old apartment buildings repainted, new faces around. Only the buzz of the streets stayed the same, with barbecue scents filling the air. By evening, I bought groceries to treat myself. Eleanor's weak stomach meant avoiding spicy foods, so I rarely got to eat the spicy dishes I loved. On the bus, figuring out the night's menu, someone suddenly leaned on me. Startled, I saw a young girl in a black hoodie, low on energy. Her dark hair matted with sweat, she wobbled against me, emitting a mix of tobacco and lemon scent. Sorry, she muttered weakly, low blood sugar. Do you have any sugar? Hurriedly, I opened a bag of sugar I bought for cooking. Will this work? Seeing my palm of sugar, she gave a resigned smile. Guess it'll do. With that, she took a little from my hand with her cool lips, making me blush. I stood quickly to help her to a seat. Dear, sit down. She nibbled on the sugar, then looked up. Under her tousled bangs, her eyes, once frail, now shone with a touch of beauty. Thanks. It was only then I noticed how pretty she was, likely just past 20, narrow nose, delicate monolid eyes painted with a hint of pink, overlaid by long, thick lashes that sharpened her allure. My pleasure, I replied, sneaking another glance. I didn't dwell on the encounter until cooking, when I realized I had no sugar left, meaning another store run. I took off my apron, disappointed. But opening the door, I froze. Right at the door next to mine, the girl I ran into on the bus earlier was trying to unlock her door with a key. The moment she saw me, her eyes lit up. So it's you? You're the new neighbor, huh? I nodded. What a coincidence. I thought for a second and then made some small talk. You feeling any better? She smiled. No biggie, just forgot to eat today 'cause I was so busy. I really wasn't planning on saying anything, but seeing how young she looked, I just had to give a bit of advice. When you're young, you gotta eat well, or your stomach's gonna pay for it later. She had that rebellious look, yet nodded sweetly. What's that smell? Something smells so good. Is it you cooking? Yeah, but I gotta run to buy some sugar. I watched her, sniffing around like a curious little puppy. Smells amazing. What are you cooking? I offered out of politeness. Tofu fish head soup and some everyday dishes. Want to try? I was just being polite, but then her eyes suddenly lit up. Really? Yeah, sure. Okay, I'll go buy some sugar. Without waiting, she took the shopping bag from my hand, tucked one hand into her pocket, and waved the other at me. Keep an eye on the stove. I'll be right back. And just like that, I don't even know how it ended up this way. First day back, and here I am, having dinner with this girl from next door. She was eating with her head down and cheeks puffed out, mumbling, Arthur, your cooking is amazing. I took a good look at this girl called Summer, way younger than me, but never called me brother after knowing my name, just Arthur. During dinner, I found out she's starting a business on her own, super busy, short on staff. She's doing the work of 3 people, which is why she doesn't get to eat properly. You have no idea, I've been living on instant noodles for a week. Haven't had a meal this good in ages. I glanced at the black Richard Mille watch on her wrist. If I remembered right, Eleanor had one just like it in her collection. You could buy a G-Wagon with it, and now it's insanely pricey, hard to find even if you've got the money. With something like a car on her wrist, she held her bowl, her dark eyes looking right at me. Can I have another bowl of rice? I nodded, a bit helpless. That night, the pot of rice I planned to use for fried rice the next day was almost polished off by Summer. Her appetite was mind-blowing. I kept glancing at her stomach, wondering where all that food was going. She probably felt a bit sheepish too, so she did the dishes afterwards and popped her head out of the kitchen. Need me to do anything else? I thought for a second. The light bulb's out in the living room. Could you change it? I said it offhand, never expecting a girl like her would know how to change a bulb. But she headed out, bought one, and actually did it. That night, I thought I'd lose sleep, being newly resolved on the divorce. But maybe because Summer disrupted things, I didn't dwell on Eleanor at all. I slept like a baby. Over the next few days, I walked around the neighborhood, checked out a few places. I want to pick up my skills again, chase that unfinished dream, starting with a little shop. The night crept in, and while I was sitting on the couch lost in recipes, my phone suddenly buzzed. It was Eleanor calling. 3 days since proposing the divorce, her first call since. When are you coming back? Her tone was the same as always, impatient, like I was the unreasonable one. I said calmly, Eleanor, I'm not coming back. You really want a divorce? She chuckled. Arthur, how long are you going to keep this up? I didn't want a pointless argument. Sign the divorce papers and mail them to me. If you're unhappy with anything, we can talk. Eleanor was silent for a moment. Her tone became somber. Fine, she said coldly and hung up. It didn't really affect me much, because Summer swung by for another meal. Lately, it felt like she had my place under surveillance. Every time I cooked, the doorbell would ring. But she never came empty-handed and always brought something along, the pricier the better. Just got in-season durians, fancy dinnerware, tea cakes that looked aged. If I didn't take them, she'd insist, said she couldn't eat or use them all alone. Giving them to me meant more meals at my place. She'd even help with the prep work, super handy. After a while, I couldn't bring myself to say no and kind of stumbled into being meal buddies with her. An old family recipe for duck stew came to mind. I wanted to get a duck to try it out. The supermarket had sales in the evening, so I went out for a stroll. But maybe it was the sketchy neighborhood or just my luck. On my way back, I felt like someone was following me. I glanced back. The alleyway was dimly lit, and someone was casually walking not too far behind. Something was off. Pretty sure I saw this guy when leaving the supermarket. Cold sweat broke out all over me. Ignoring whether I was overthinking, I quickened my pace to shake him off. But he kept following, and when I bent down to go upstairs, he entered the building. Scared out of my wits, I bolted inside and locked the door as fast as I could. Peeking through the peephole, he was nowhere to be seen. I let out a sigh, thinking it was over. But waking up at night, I found the power out, and maybe it was my imagination, but there were little noises outside. Gathering my courage, I peeked through the peephole, but it was pitch black, couldn't see a thing. Still, I couldn't shake this sudden thought popping into my head. Someone's out there. I jumped back, chills running from head to toe. No time to question if I was overreacting. I dialed 911. The precinct was far. They said they'd take about 20 minutes to get there, asked me to keep safe. Noises outside got louder, and being naturally timid, I instinctively called Eleanor. She picked up fast. Hello. I leaned against the bedroom's locked door, whispering, Eleanor. Before I could say more, she cut me off with disdain. Changed your mind, Arthur? Weren't you all tough before? I was shaking all over and didn't care about her attitude anymore. Eleanor, someone's trying to break into my door. I'm so scared. Can't you? What could she even do, really? It was just a habit, seeking her comfort in my most fearful moments. But Eleanor left. Arthur, she mocked. If you're looking for an excuse, at least come up with something believable. I found myself unable to continue speaking. I stayed silent for a while, then hung up. Wasn't really disappointed, just stared at the glowing screen. We were planning on getting divorced anyway. With her acting like this, it didn't seem like a big deal. Yet I suddenly felt exhausted, like there was a hollow space in my chest where the wind could just blow through. Even the fear turned somewhat numb with the fatigue. The noise outside seemed to stop, but then suddenly, a woman's voice rang out. What are you doing? It was Summer's voice. Then came a heavy thud. I hurriedly opened the door and dashed out. I saw Summer standing over a middle-aged man she'd thrown to the ground. She asked harshly, What are you doing? Breaking into someone's door in the middle of the night. The man groaned in pain, looked at Summer with fear in his eyes. No, nothing. I just got the wrong door. Summer sneered and moved to grab him. But he was surprisingly agile, rolled on the ground, and dashed down the stairs like a madman. Summer, furious, jumped down the stairs with one hand on the railing and grabbed the back of his collar. The man slipped right out of his jacket. Shit. Summer cursed, glanced at me, still dazed, and chose to come back to comfort me. That night, the police came to take a statement. They said the guy was probably a habitual offender, that he'd cut the power, waiting for me to come out. Luckily, I hadn't gone out alone. Who knows what could have happened? After they left, I asked Summer, What made you come out? I was just working out, she replied, still upset she hadn't caught the guy. Heard some noise outside, so I came to check. Thank you, I said, my face pale. I wouldn't have known what to do without you today. She looked at me for a moment, then suddenly hugged me. I was enveloped by her presence, her warmth reaching me through the thin sleepwear. I should have pushed her away, but in that moment, I found some comfort in her embrace. We just stood there in the dimly lit hallway, holding each other, her warm hand on my back heating the air. The faint smell of tobacco lingered around us, like a web wrapping me up. Something inexplicable seemed to be brewing. My heartbeat quickened for some reason, so I awkwardly pulled away. Thanks. Wait up. Summer, unfazed, went back to her place, then came back with a pillow and blanket. You probably won't come back, but just to be safe, I'll sleep at your place tonight. She said it so naturally, and it kind of made sense. I wanted to refuse, but the words stuck in my throat. Lingering, we'd only just met, and spending the night together seemed a bit inappropriate, right? Don't worry. She seemed to read my mind, grinning. I'll sleep on the sofa. If you're worried, just lock your door and sleep well. I was pretty scared at first, but knowing Summer was outside helped me drift off to sleep. Didn't dream all night. I woke up to a pleasant aroma, thinking I was dreaming. I slipped on my slippers and went to see Summer in the kitchen, wearing an apron. When she saw me, she waved her spatula. You're up. Go wash up and eat. I made porridge. Standing in the corner, I was suddenly dazed. I thought I was too old to be moved by a bowl of porridge, but it warmed me anyways. When Summer placed the sweet porridge in front of me, I couldn't help but say, "Didn't know you could cook." "I can't," Summer said proudly, "but I can learn." Followed the video perfectly step by step. I laughed. "Thanks really. You don't have to do all this." "Could have cooked." Summer suddenly turned serious, looking at me intently. "Arthur, cooking is your hobby, not your duty. No one has to cook for others. You don't have to do this." I was stunned. I had said it out of habit because with Eleanor, I'd always done the cooking. She never cooked, never once. If I got sick, a housekeeper would prepare our meals. I never thought someone would tell me cooking was just a hobby, not an obligation. Someone would cook for me and say I didn't need to do this. I lowered my head, suddenly feeling like I'd been wrong. These past 7 years, Eleanor was right. I shouldn't have centered my life around her. Back then, I thought it was best for both of us. But now I realize marriage shouldn't be one person endlessly conceding. Before leaving, Summer reminded me, "Call me right away if anything happens." She smiled. "Don't worry. I'm here." The small shop was slowly getting back on track, decorated just how I liked it. Not many tables, since it was just me running it for now. I planned to finalize the menu and pick a good day to open. With the busy days working on the menu, I suddenly realized I hadn't thought about Eleanor for a while. The security app pinged, notifying me of someone entering my house. I clicked to check. Julian was helping a drunken Eleanor, struggling to get her onto the couch. Eleanor frowned, curling up a bit. Her stomach was acting up again. She mumbled, "Medicine." Julian was rummaging around and had no clue where the medicine was. He finally gave in and ordered some delivery meds. He gave Eleanor a bit of warm water. "The medicine will be here soon. Just hang on." But when the meds arrived, it turned out they weren't what Eleanor needed. Even after taking them, the pain on her face hadn't eased a bit. Julian didn't realize Eleanor's stomach medicine was custom-made by a hospital far away. It was a place I had painstakingly located. Every 3 months, I'd get her medicine stored at home. I've done it for 7 years, never skipping once despite the weather. Whenever her stomach acted up, I'd also make a stomach-soothing soup for her. After the soup and medicine, her pain would usually subside. A few years back, her condition had improved a lot with my care, but over the past year, she's been coming home less and eating irregularly, so her stomach issues flared up again. Now that I'm gone, there's no one to get her the meds, and she must have run out. No one's there to make her soup either. Eleanor pulled Julian close and leaned into his neck. At first, he blushed, feeling shy, and tried to hold her, but then he froze, hearing Eleanor mumble a name that wasn't his. "Arthur." I looked down at my phone, unsure how to feel. "I'm not Arthur," Julian struggled, saying. "Eleanor, Eleanor, you've got the wrong person." Eleanor barely opened her eyes, and realizing he wasn't who she expected, pushed him away. "Who are you? Where's Arthur? Get out. Arthur, Arthur." Julian's face darkened, dripping with frustration. Embarrassed, he grabbed his things and stormed off. I put down my phone and closed my eyes. The trucks outside woke me up in the early hours. Half asleep, I grabbed my phone to check the time and noticed Eleanor still sitting in the living room. She seemed sober, just quietly sitting there in the dark, looking lonely. After a bit, she got up to search a drawer for her stomach meds, but just as expected, the meds were all gone, the drawer empty. She paused on the floor, lost in thought. After a while, she just sat there on the floor and lit a cigarette. Smoking made her stomach ache worse, but she didn't seem to care. I didn't find it satisfying, not even a bit, and soon put my phone down. The next morning when I woke up, Eleanor was still in the living room, surrounded by cigarette butts. She hadn't slept at all. Julian called while I was watching TV in my living room. Outside, the summer rain was pouring, raindrops splattering and leaving traces on the glass. Coco was snoozing next to me. "Arthur," he said, "we need to talk." As I ate the durian that Summer bought for me, I frowned. What is there to talk about? If you're planning to divorce her, why keep bothering her? Or are you just playing hard to get, wanting to backtrack again? I don't know what you're talking about. I was about to hang up when Julian angrily broke in. "Quit acting. If it weren't for you, Eleanor wouldn't have cooled on me like this. I'm telling you, this won't work. You know what she used to say about you? That you're always hovering around her, and she got tired of it ages ago. She said I remind her of her youth, that she's happy with me." I couldn't help but sneer. "Oh, if she likes you so much, why don't you find her?" Where is she? Suddenly, there was a knock at my door. I thought it was the milk tea I'd ordered and went to open it in my slippers. Julian didn't respond, but after a moment, he gritted his teeth, saying, "She went to find you. Are you happy now, Arthur? Even if you take her back, it won't matter. She'll get tired of you again. Once a cheater, always a cheater. She'll figure out soon enough who she really wants." His shamelessness left me dumbfounded, but I didn't think Eleanor would actually come to find me. We hadn't been in touch since the split. I didn't want to argue with Julian, so I cut him off. Quit with the BS. I can't stand this crap. I hung up, but opening the door, I froze. Eleanor stood there, drenched, lips pale, looking straight at me, bedraggled. She actually came. "What are you doing here?" "I'm confused. You could have just mailed me the divorce papers. No need to hand them over personally." Eleanor looked at me for a long time, and then suddenly said, "Arthur, come back." I suddenly found it absurd. After a year of arguing, half a year of the silent treatment, and 2 months of divorce talks, she shows up asking me to return. Are you serious? I didn't want to say more and was about to close the door. Just then, my upstairs neighbor, Mrs. Davies, came down. "Whoa, it's raining. My scooter's still outside." She saw Eleanor and cautiously said, "Arthur, who's this?" I warmed a bit inside. "She's, an old friend." "Thanks, Mrs. Davies." "Oh, good then." When she got a look at Eleanor's face, the suspicion vanished, her eyes lighting up. "Arthur, your friend is gorgeous. Does she have a boyfriend?" "My nephew. She's married, Mrs. Davies." Mrs. Davies smacked her lips, still glancing at Eleanor before heading down. What a pity. Eleanor held on to the door, looking a bit shocked. Was it true? Someone really tried to break into your place? I looked at her coldly. "What do you think? I thought you were just—" Her look was complicated. "Believe me," I sneered a bit, "if I had to rely on you, I'd be in trouble already. Take your worthless sorry elsewhere, Arthur." Eleanor grabbed my hand, water dripping from her wet hair. She pressed her lips together. "I'm serious. I overreacted before. We've come so far, no point making it uglier. If you come back, I can send Julian to a branch office. He won't bother you anymore. How about that?" I looked at the woman I had loved since my teens, feeling a bit dazed. Eleanor was suggesting we act like all was well, while I go back to circling around her as before. Forget her straying, her change of heart, as if nothing happened. But how could I? How can you tolerate someone you love betraying you? But she just said it casually, like she was sure that I'd keep putting up with it for her, because she knows I love her. She's using my love like a weapon against me. I never realized until now that those pure, passionate feelings from my youth had become twisted and rotten over the years, completely unrecognizable. "Get out." I tried to close the door, but she blocked it. "Arthur," she seemed puzzled. "You care about Julian, don't you? What do you want from me? What else do you want me to do?" But then I heard a voice behind me. "Arthur, who is this?" I turned to see Summer wrapped in just a towel, drying her wet hair, her muscles forming a neat V-line. Eleanor froze for a moment. She looked at me with anger in her eyes. "Arthur, who's she?" I was about to speak, when Summer came over and hugged me playfully, reaching out her hand. "It's Arthur's ex-wife, right? Ah, I've heard so much about you. Nice to meet you. I'm Arthur's current partner." Complete nonsense. She just came over because her water heater was broken and she needed to use the shower. But strangely enough, I didn't correct her and went along with Summer's story. Eleanor's face turned pale. For a moment, I thought she would just turn around and leave, but she held it together, took a deep breath, and calmed down a bit. "Arthur, I can understand if you go out and have fun when you're upset. I don't mind." The way she said she didn't mind had a hint of gritted teeth. Eleanor closed her eyes. "Come back now, and I'll pretend this never happened." I almost wanted to applaud her for how magnanimous she appeared. I mocked Eleanor. "Are you trying to say you've cheated too, so we can call it even and continue to pretend nothing happened?" Eleanor said nothing, but her expression said that's exactly what she thought. I found it laughable. Suddenly, I wasn't sure what I'd been protecting all these years. It felt like it had become an ugly, distorted monstrosity without me noticing. Summer suddenly laughed. She sized Eleanor up with a smirk. "I heard you found someone younger? Well, who doesn't like them young, fresh, and full of energy? Arthur does too." She hugged me tighter. "I'm only 21. Arthur has me now. Why would he go back to you, an old cabbage? I've got everything you have and more. Wake up, lady." She kept calling her lady, but everything she said was like a stab to the heart. I was a little afraid Eleanor would pass out from anger. All right, we need to rest, Summer said. Got any cash? If not, I'll transfer some so you can get a hotel. She held me tighter, looking mischievous. We've got things to do tonight. Before she could finish, Eleanor slapped her across the face. While her mouth was asking for it, Summer wasn't angry. She laughed, wiping the blood from her mouth, and slapped Eleanor right back. Enough, I shouted, stepping in front of Summer and glaring at Eleanor. Eleanor, are you crazy? Summer's fierceness vanished as she grabbed my arm, playing innocent. Arthur, look at what she did. It hurts. You're protecting her. Eleanor seemed utterly bewildered, not even bothering to wipe the blood from her face as she suddenly exploded. Arthur, we've been together for 10 years, and you stand by her side in front of me. You've known her a few days. Yeah, didn't you stand by Julian in front of me before? I laughed lightly. Eleanor, stop interfering in my life. We're over. Eleanor looked at me, dazed. She didn't even flinch when Summer hit her, but after I said those words, she suddenly crumbled, as if her spirit had been completely drained. Fine. After a while, she forced a smile. Arthur, you're amazing. I'm leaving. She staggered down the stairs, the dim light flickering over her face. I stood there, my heart aching intensely. Thanks for today. I tried hard to stay calm, but my voice was shaky. Let me treat your injury. I led Summer to the living room and cleaned her wound with iodine. She looked down at me, a hint of rebelliousness in her pretty face. Because of the cut, we were close. I could smell the scent of my body wash on her. Does it hurt? I asked genuinely. Summer suddenly said, Arthur, consider me. I looked up. Summer's gaze was openly aggressive. I'm good-looking, rich, and young, and capable. She emphasized capable. Arthur, I wouldn't be like your ex-wife. Give it a shot with me. I couldn't help but laugh. She was always so blunt and confident, like a cheeky rogue. What's funny? Summer asked, dissatisfied. I'm serious about liking you. I continued applying the ointment, speaking lightly. You don't really care, it's just a whim. You should date someone your age. We're not right for each other. Summer fell silent, her face long. Please. I'm 21, not 16. I know if it's a whim or not. Right, Arthur? I really like you. Your moronic ex-wife doesn't deserve you. I put the iodine away. All right, it's not that I wasn't tempted. Summer had reasons to be confident. Like she said, it's hard not to be swayed by someone like her. A young, beautiful, 21-year-old girl looking you straight in the eye and saying she likes you. Who wouldn't feel moved? But I've lost once before. I can't take another chance. The most beautiful, yet fragile thing in the world is a promise. We stayed silent for a long time after the treatment was done. Before leaving, Summer said to me, Arthur, I know your last marriage hurt you. It's normal to have concerns. But I'll prove to you that choosing me won't bring you sadness again. When my friends heard about my divorce, they all gently tried to talk me out of it. You went through so much with Eleanor. Now that she's got money, you're giving her up to another man? Isn't that a loss? Yeah, I heard Eleanor has been distancing herself from that other woman. She used to bring her everywhere, but not lately. Seems like she got transferred to a different branch. People want to change sometimes. It's human nature. At least she still comes home and gives you the money, right? They meant well, and they weren't entirely wrong, but this isn't the life I want. We're only here for a few decades, and I don't want to waste it with someone who's had a change of heart. When I got back to Beijing, I felt a bit lost. It had only been a few months away, yet everything seemed unfamiliar. Eleanor picked me up in her car. The bruise on her face had mostly healed. We didn't talk much on the drive. Only when we got out did she softly say, "Thank you." I nodded. Grandma Evelyn was good to me. It's only right to visit her. Eleanor's grandma was seriously ill. The only thing she cared about now was her grandchildren, and wanted to see Eleanor and me. Eleanor asked me not to tell her about our divorce, and I agreed. Her grandma had always been kind to me. When she found out I loved smoked meat, she'd send me some every year. Back then, she was already quite old. Her family told her not to bother, but she just grinned and said, "Arthur loves it." In just a few short months, Grandma Evelyn seemed all skin and bones, her face lined with deep wrinkles. Her half-closed eyes slowly brightened when she saw us, and she reached out her thin, rough hand to hold mine. "Arthur, you're here." My eyes stung. "Grandma." I couldn't say more. She looked at us, barely managing a faint smile. "Don't cry. Everyone has their day. Kids, don't cry. I've lived a good life. Seeing you both happy is enough. I can rest easy. Eleanor held my hand, her voice dry. Grandma, we'll be good. Grandma Evelyn paused, then looked at Eleanor. Arthur has been with you all these years. Now that you have money, don't shortchange him. Be genuine, she hoarsely whispered. True feelings are rare. Someone who truly cares can't be bought. Eleanor's hand trembled almost imperceptibly. Okay. After Grandma Evelyn rested outside the room, Eleanor took out a cigarette from her pocket, but held on to it. We quietly stood there until she spoke first. Arthur, I realize now where I went wrong. I thought I was tired of the routine, but didn't see how much you did behind the scenes. These last few days, I've thought a lot. I wasn't truly into Julian. It was just something new. We've ended things. I promise I won't make these mistakes again. Let's reconcile. Let's be as we were. We can have a child and be a happy family. Her face showed an odd sense of hope, like she really believed in the future she described. But I found it laughable. Have a kid only to pass on the genes of unfaithfulness. Eleanor's smile froze. She sighed. I know how much I've hurt you. It's okay, Arthur. It was you waiting for me before. Now it's my turn to wait for you. I won't give up. Disgusted, I decided to see Grandma Evelyn one last time before leaving. Suddenly, there were footsteps and an angry voice behind us. Eleanor, did you dump me just to get back with him? I turned to see Julian had shown up. Eleanor's brow twitched. Why are you here? Julian's voice caught. Are you running after using me, Eleanor? I won't let that happen. Eleanor, annoyed, dropped her sweet demeanor. I've given you enough. I won't divorce Arthur to marry you. Get that thought out of your head. Julian stepped back in disbelief, crying. He couldn't believe she'd turn on him so harshly. I watched unsurprised. Eleanor's selfishness meant she didn't really love either of us. She could easily abandon me after 10 years. What's less than a year with Julian? Just as I thought Julian would leave heartbroken, he gritted his teeth and slammed open the hospital door with a loud crash. Grandma Evelyn stirred awake, and Julian rushed to her bedside, pointing at me. Grandma, she and him are already divorced. I'm your grandchild now. Eleanor wants to toss me aside. Grandma, stop her. She's carrying my child. He pulled out an ultrasound image, waving it in front of Grandma Evelyn. See, Grandma, it might be a boy. Your great-grandchild. Grandma Evelyn looked pained, and he pointed at Eleanor, trying to speak, grief-stricken. Help Eleanor keep her baby, Grandma. How could she think of aborting her child? Grandma Evelyn's face turned red. Sensing something wrong, I grabbed Julian. Julian froze. Grandma Evelyn's hand pointed at Eleanor, her face losing color, turning ash white. That hand dropped lifelessly. Everyone was stunned. After a moment, I yelled, Doctor! Doctor! In the end, Grandma Evelyn was gone. The doctor said he was already on his last legs. If he'd been taken care of, he might have lasted a few more days. But he got so worked up he just couldn't hang on. Julian seemed stunned by it all, standing there in the corner, frozen. He probably only thought the old man cared about family, hoping Grandma Evelyn could say a few words to Eleanor. Gingerly, he tugged on Eleanor. Eleanor, Eleanor turned around inch by inch. The room's air felt thick enough to cut. Her eyes and brows flickered with anger. I'd never seen her so terrifying before. Slap. That smack was hard, sent Julian half a meter back. He hit the ground, his lips split, trickling blood. He held his face and just stared at Eleanor. Eleanor's voice was icy. Get out. Eleanor's dad then stepped up, his eyes red, and kicked Eleanor hard. This is all you're doing? Could have lived a good life, but had to mess around. You dragged it to your grandma, and that's what killed her. The drama didn't end even by nightfall. Eleanor's dad was set on beating her, and Julian kept protecting her. Eleanor told Julian to just leave. I was exhausted, so I walked away. Whatever happens, it's not my concern anymore. I just feel sad about Grandma Evelyn, a kind soul all her life, and she didn't even get peace at the end. Grandma Evelyn's funeral was a few days later. I went to pay my respects and then left. Eleanor's mom grabbed my hand, unable to speak through her tears. I patted her hand. Eleanor's family was actually pretty decent, but the ties were just spent. At home, I was caught up with getting the restaurant ready. It's not a huge place, but there's a lot to prep. Luckily, Summer was helping out, easing a lot of the load. When the first snow hit that winter, while tidying up, I stumbled on an old tin box. Inside were letters Eleanor had written back in the day. Back in high school, Without phones, we'd write letters to each other every day. I paused and picked one up. Arthur, let's walk together tomorrow. This guy's been bothering me. I told him I have a boyfriend, but he doesn't believe it. It's so annoying. My mom made dumplings today. They were so good. Come over for dinner tomorrow. The teacher talked to me about us dating today. He said we're too young, and it's just a phase. He said it wouldn't last. What nonsense. We'll always be good, always be together. Arthur, let's bury this time capsule together. Matthew gave it to me, plus tomorrow's the weekend, perfect for hanging out. Reading that letter, a memory popped into my mind. When we were 18, Eleanor and I buried a time capsule under the camphor tree at school. We wrote things to our future selves, promising to dig it up 10 years later. Turns out this year marks that decade. I don't really remember what I wrote back then. Feeling a mix of emotions, I decided to dig it up. Heading downstairs, I paused. Eleanor stood covered in snow. It looked like she'd been there for quite a while. What do you want? I frowned instinctively. Eleanor's lips trembled. Arthur, I'm here to apologize. I thought long and hard, and I think I owe you a sorry. I tried to walk past, mumbling, forget it. Just staying out of my sight is the best apology. She grabbed me, her eyes reddened with strain. Arthur, what will it take for you to come back? I meant to shrug her off, but for some reason, I pulled out the letter she gave me and passed it over. I'm going to dig up our time capsule. You coming? The school hadn't changed much in 10 years. The buildings sported fresh paint. A new field was laid. Surprisingly, the corner shop still stood. Its sign just got a bit bigger. We stepped inside. The old shopkeeper didn't remember us, chuckled as she handed over 2 hot drinks. The camphor tree seemed sturdier than before, now piled with snow that sometimes gently fluttered off. Borrowing a shovel from the shop, I started digging based on memory. The ground was tough. Eleanor stepped in, stomping hard to break the soil. The marking stones from back then were long gone. It took ages digging before we finally found the tin box. Eleanor pulled it out gently, took the time capsule from within, still brightly colored, like it was yesterday when buried. Only the paper inside had yellowed. The handwriting was a bit immature. First wish, marry Arthur. Second, be with Arthur forever. 18-year-old Eleanor asked her 28-year-old self across the span of 10 years. 10 years on, did my wishes come true? I hope they did. Below was my own handwriting. I want to be with Eleanor forever too. The echo of a young girl's words lingered in my ears, yet 10 years later, things were utterly different. Eleanor stared at the note, frozen in the swirling storm of snowflakes. Finally, her fingers trembled. Tears spilled down as she looked up. Arthur, her voice raw. I finally understand what you wanted. I smiled, tore the note, letting the pieces scatter into the wind and snow. Like whispers, they spun away, disappearing from sight. Back then, I'd never imagined our 7-year marriage would crash so devastatingly. Youthful promises, like arrows, pierced the years only to hit home with pain. 10 years ago, Arthur, your wish didn't come true. Eleanor and I are moving apart. I dusted my hands, stood up, saying, let's go. Eleanor, though, suddenly tugged at me and knelt in the snow. She pleaded, Arthur, please give me one more chance. I promise I won't hurt you again. She choked up, lowered her head, and her tears created a small melted pit in the snow. Don't leave me. I kept my hands in my pockets, watching her calmly. Eleanor, don't do this. It's too pitiful. I walked quite a distance away, but when I looked back, Eleanor was still kneeling in the snow. Snowflakes settled on her. Summer disappeared. At some point, I completely lost touch with her. She vanished on a snowy day, as suddenly as she had appeared in my life. I never saw her again. I felt down for a while, but having been through what happened with Eleanor, and since I'd only known Summer for a short time, I gradually let go. I thought she was so young, that the things she said were probably just in the moment. We weren't from the same world, and after a brief intersection, we were bound to return to our own lives. Luckily, my restaurant finally opened, called Arthur's Kitchen. I plan to expand and rename it Arthur's Dining House in the future. Customers can't stop praising my cooking. In just a few days, the restaurant was bustling, and some even promoted it for me on social media for free. I got so busy that I had to hire 2 more people to help. Little by little, I stopped thinking about Summer, but sometimes when I'd see that never-opened door at home, I'd still pause. Until one day, after a busy day, I went home, opened the door, and froze. There was Summer, wearing an apron, with Coco on her shoulder, peeking out to smile at me. "You're back." I was a bit dazed. It felt like I was back to half a year ago, when we were at our best. "You," Summer pouted, then walked over and hugged me tightly, as if trying to merge me into her own body. She buried her face in my shoulder. "I'm sorry. That day, my old man sent someone to take me back, saying he was in poor health and insisting I go back to marry and then inherit the family business. I refused, so they took my phone and locked me at home, saying I couldn't come out until I changed my mind. I really wanted to contact you. I tried to run away several times." She lifted her pant leg, showing a fierce scar on her calf with a bitter smile. "I climbed down from upstairs once, but still got caught." I was stunned, instinctively reaching to touch the scars. "Does it still hurt?" Summer softened. "It hasn't hurt for a long time." "So how did you get out?" "The game I was developing was almost done. After I got taken back, the folks at the company launched it as planned. It blew up, earning over $80 million in just the first day, and the revenue kept growing. I went on a hunger strike in protest. The old man couldn't stand it any longer. Since I had my own business now, he had to compromise, saying I could get a professional manager to handle the family business." She said it so casually, but I could see she had grown thinner and looked haggard. Clearly, that struggle wasn't as easy as she made it sound. Summer hugged me morosely. "Arthur, what should I do?" I went back on my word. "I said I'd wait for you, but then I just disappeared. You must have been upset." I patted her back in silence. Outside, it began snowing again, and Summer's voice caught a bit. "You have no idea how much I missed you. The old man wanted me to marry, and I didn't even like the guy. I was so scared that when I left, you'd get back together with your ex-wife or be snatched away by someone else." I teased her. "Yeah, my ex-wife is insisting on getting back together. I've been thinking about it these past few days." Summer didn't say anything. She just stared at me intently. She had single eyelids, and when she looked down, the outer corners of her eyes sloped up sharply, seeming a bit domineering. Surprisingly, she didn't get mad. She merely said calmly, "Come and eat." I made red wine braised beef. When she pulled out the bottle of wine she'd used for the beef, I nearly spat out my food. She used a 30,000 bottle of Screaming Eagle for braising beef. "Oh, you spoiling brat." I lamented. Summer just smirked indifferently. "That kind of wine doesn't even make it to our wine cabinet at home, but there's still half a bottle left, so we might as well drink it." I didn't doubt her. That night, who knows how much we drank. We initially just planned to finish the half bottle, but then somehow open more bottles. By the end of it, I was laughing and crying, not even sure what nonsense I was spouting, nearly crawling under the table. Summer propped me up, responding to everything I said with When I opened my eyes again, it was already midnight. My head was spinning, debating whether to go to the bathroom. Summer stepped out of the bathroom, loosely draped in a towel. I, still groggy, was suddenly struck by curiosity. After being confined at home, how did she maintain her figure so well? But then I noticed something was off. Summer stood by the window, looking down at me. Then she tugged her towel away with one hand. The moonlight lay across her face, and though she showed no emotion, it seemed creepy enough to make me shiver. "What do you want?" I propped myself up, instinctively shuffling back a little. Summer smiled, revealing a gleaming white smile. "You, man, young people are terrifying." Before losing consciousness, that was my last thought. Summer and I didn't get together. The next morning, when she woke up and asked for a commitment, I felt like her stare was about to devour me alive. But I was scared of promises made by young women. I feared that my relationship with Summer would end up like the last. I wasn't ready to handle that again. We made a 3-year pact. If in 3 years she still wants to choose me, then we'd be together. Time went on, and my restaurant became a popular spot, bustling with customers. I opened 2 more branches, expanding the business. I mastered all the old recipes and even started crafting new dishes, which were surprisingly well received. Everything seemed to be improving, and past events felt like they were fading away, like smoke. I stopped thinking about it, unless someone brought up their situations in passing. The whole drama with Eleanor and Julian was all the rage before, but later I found out Eleanor wasn't even pregnant. He didn't want to break up with Eleanor, so he tried to use their child as leverage, but it backfired. He ended up causing Grandma Evelyn's death, cutting all ties with Eleanor completely. Heard Eleanor's family got revenge on him. He got scammed out of all his money and picked up a gambling habit. He ended up having to sell himself to pay off his debts, moving from one low-end place to another, getting all kinds of health issues. Now, nobody knows where he is or even if he's still alive. The next time I heard about Eleanor was when Matthew called. He said Eleanor needed surgery because her stomach had perforated from drinking too much. After you left, she became an alcoholic and was hospitalized multiple times for throwing up blood at work. This time, the doctor said it was serious, and she might have to get part of her stomach removed. Matthew sighed. You guys were together for so long. Can you really just stand by and watch her like this? He sent a video. Eleanor was lying on the hospital bed, looking much thinner, her eyelashes fluttering slightly. The vibrant person she once was had completely vanished, leaving only a shell of her former self. I didn't say anything and hung up the phone. I thought about sending Eleanor a message, but then put my phone down. This was her choice and her destiny. I didn't want to interfere or carry any more weight. That's just how it is. We went from young love to being fed up with each other, and ending up as strangers isn't the worst. Summer nights by the beach are cool. Summer and I often take walks there after sunset. The moonlight was bright, and she kept splashing water on my legs, refusing to stop. I reached to grab her, but she caught my hand instead. A cold object slipped onto my finger. Looking down, I saw a ring. Diamond glistened softly in the moonlight. I was stunned. Summer knelt on one knee, looking up at me. The starlight sparkled in her eyes, and I saw my reflection there. I like you, Arthur, she said. I blushed. Why so sudden? She said she liked me every day, and I'd almost become deaf to it, but I didn't expect this out of the blue. I mean it, she said. Serious. Arthur, it's been 3 years, and I still like you. I like you even more than before. I figured out my feelings. Let's get married. I didn't say anything, just looked at her. She tilted her head. Arthur. I laughed and pulled her up. Then I leaned down. The cool kiss lingered in the evening breeze.